Good morning. Good morning. Oh, it is good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to the Sawalha-Adderleys or Sawalha-Adderleys.
Ah, putting the H in today.
Thought I put the H in. If you haven't, please do subscribe. We are going to be talking about the arrests of people holding Palestine action signs and banners today in central London. We're going to be talking about the prescription of Palestine action as a terrorist group and the implications therein. So we cover all sorts of news, but we are obviously we pay special attention to the Gaza Israel crisis, West Bank crisis, Middle East crisis. Nadia's family, she's Anglo-Arab, and so it has a particularly important place in our hearts and in our lives. So do subscribe to the channel for regular updates, regular opportunities, really, to come to a space and share your own experiences and frustrations. Before we get going on this,
I mean, yes, I am Anglo-Arab, but we speak to, you're not, and we speak to, we are humanitarians, and we are part of that humanitarian movement to keep sharp focus on what's happening in Gaza. So yes, it's great if you hit that subscribe button, but also if you share our videos so that the discussion continues on and on. Wherever wherever other discussions are given precedent, it's important that we don't forget the suffering in Gaza. And actually, I'm actually reeling a bit at the minute because, as I think it is with so many of us, we had a few hours off today. I just look at this man just screaming, crying. He's lost his brother, because we wanted to just spend some really mindful time with our kids, present time with our kids, because it's very consuming, isn't it? The horror in Gaza when we're talking, to go from the killing fields, in fact, earlier on we were watching with our kids Squid Games, and I couldn't help, I don't know, but it kept thinking over and over again about the flour and them running with those bags and getting shot.
In fact, me and Maddie are doing a review of the Squid Games series tomorrow, and there are so many parallels in there. The treatment of the Palestinians and the treatment of the contestants is quite shocking. Can I just say, I do need to put a disclaimer. We are going to be talking about Palestine Action's arrests today. I really want to say this as a duty of care to anyone in the comments, given that it's a prescribed terrorist organization. I would advise people not to express their support for the organization in the comments, just to protect yourself.
Because actually, we just read that we are in fact the only country that if you were to give any reckless support to any terrorist organization, you might say something and not really realize, then you can be charged. So, we really want to urge that, things like just if you were to say, make a comment that in any way could be seen as support, you could be charged. So please be really careful with anything that you say.
A couple of other kind of really important administrative details about this story. So going into Palestine Action being prescribed as they were from midnight last night. So they've been a terrorist organization now for 24 hours, 33 minutes. When the bill was passed in the House of Commons, Nadia was talking about the fact that it was quite shocking, the sizable majority that voted for it. I mean, I think it was only 26 people voted against it being prescribed, which is massive support. Looking at the numbers, there was 300 and something and 26. I think there's still about 200 MPs that aren't there or didn't vote or abstained. So the 300 odd that voted for it, on the document, on the bill, Palestine Action sat alongside, I haven't got the exact names in front of me, but two extremely violent to the person organizations, one a neo-Nazi organization and another a militant Russian organization. So when they were voted on all three. You weren't asked to vote on each individual. So there was, and this is something that Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana and a number of other MPs were protesting and pushing back against, the idea that everyone was voting against all three. And when you've got two absolute kind of, you know, radical terrorist harm to people organizations, and the difference here is that Palestine Action, up until 24 hours ago, was a direct action pressure group, protest organization. It's the first protest, direct action protest group to be prescribed as a terrorist organization in this country. And that speaks to why I think many people decided to take the risk, or as some are describing it, a Spartacus moment, to basically take the risk en masse and head to Parliament Square, protest the prescription in an attempt, this is what they were doing, in an attempt to showcase that actually what they've made a terrorist group is a group of protesters, not dissimilar. And I was talking to Nadia about this earlier. The best grab on what is a direct action protest group, Just Stop Oil. I mean, and that doesn't mean I want to get involved in the rights and wrongs of how Just Stop Oil have gone about their protests, because I haven't agreed with all of the way in which they've done their protests. But I sure as hell wouldn't call Just Stop Oil a terrorist organization. So I think it's interesting to just look at another example outside of Palestine Action, so that you can get a sense of what the kind of things they do. It's often involves paint, damage to buildings, damage to planes at Bryce Norton. And so today these arrests took place. So how many did they arrest? 29? 29.
Sorry, I'm just getting a flashback to another video I saw today as well. Oh my God, sorry. Because we've just been catching up. And I mean, there's no way I could play you this video. There's no way that I could, sorry, just going back to Gaza for a second. There's no way I could put this on my Instagram. I had just never seen anything like it. It was just an open ward, and just a little flag here that this is pretty horrific story, and packed ward. Just seeing just doctors, it looked like something out of World War I, just like sawing a child's leg off. But there was somebody over there with two legs missing. There was another person over there having their leg sawed off, and it was just like a living nightmare of terror and horror. Just, oh my God, it's just so much. It's just so much, isn't it? It's just so much.
I'm going to show you.
But anyway, these people arrested today under suspicion of terrorism.
Support of terrorism. They weren't arrested not for the conducting of terrorism, but for the support of a prescribed terrorist organization. They were all arrested, 29 of them. I'm going to show you a clip of a lady called, a retired priest called Sue Parfit, who's 83. Here's some footage of her posted on the Middle East Eye Instagram account.
Here today, I'm here to stand up for the people of Palestine and the fact that this organisation is being said it's a terrorist organisation.
You did.
Which is not.
You make us proud, Auntie.
This is a news report by Sky News that shows some of the other arrests within it.
This hour with breaking news. In the past few minutes, police have moved in and made arrests at a protest in Parliament Square in Westminster, supporting the group Palestine Action, just hours after it was banned and officially designated a terrorist group. Protesters have been voicing their support for the group during the demonstration. Some were heard shouting, "I support Palestine Action," as police made arrests. The group was designated a terrorist organisation after claiming responsibility for the alleged sabotage of jets at RAF Bryce Norton, which police say caused around £7 million of damage. Well, an 11th hour legal attempt to delay the ban failed last night.
Where do they stand with that then? Will they have another appeal now?
There's one, so basically the prescription stands. What they were trying to do on Friday was get the prescription delayed. with the further hearing pending. So the judge disallowed that. So they are prescribed. And there is another appeal. There is a further appeal pending against the decision to not allow the appeal, and I think that's I think that's on the 11th. That's on the 11th of July.
I think 21st of July.
It's an appeal against the appeal. Just to say that
it's an appeal against them saying you cannot have an appeal.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I didn't understand, I don't know if anyone here understands, is that the judges said that we are not able to decide on this. So I thought that was very strange. I didn't know
but there
what
were so many
meant.
aspects of the High Court case with the F-35 parts when inadmissible evidence of the British government concealing their arms supply to Israel was talked about, was mentioned, was named, but wasn't allowed to be considered in their judgment.
That's very
and I
confusing.
think part of that, I don't want to get drawn down that galley because that's complicated. But I think there are instances here where I think when things go to court, I think judges have the opportunity to kind of defer all authority back to the government. And again, one has to be really careful here how you talk about it. A number of journalists and a number of news outlets and a number of independent journalists and journalists from the legacy media have approached the government, rightly so, for guidance on coverage. Because going back to what's the term for when you unwittingly sort of support?
Reckless. Is how the legal term.
Exactly.
Recklessly.
I mean, there's a fear and there's a worry amongst, independent journalistic type places who are talking about these stories, pressure groups, activists, people who want to talk about these things. We are right now tiptoeing incredibly carefully around how one talks about it because we have to, because it's not clear. That's why we've said to you guys as well, just be really careful, because you might just say something and not know that could now be investigated under the Terrorism Act. So, so there does need to be given guidelines, definitely, because people will be making mistakes all over the place. And then the thing is, where are they going to put them on? Because the prisons are packed, aren't they? I mean, we're hearing all the time. I mean, one of the things that Starmer was talked quite a bit about, didn't he, when he first came in, is how they were going to reduce the prison population. There was all sorts of ideas, wasn't there, about getting people out early. And I did see something online.
Will that be really will that be sped up so we can get people like that lovely lady, into prison? I mean, what will happen?
To go alongside all the Just Stop Oilers?
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's an awful lot of people are going to be ending up in prison if they.
Because I know right at the beginning he was talking about getting out the criminals, wasn't he? Because we were so overcrowded. So I suppose they're going to have to speed that up quite a bit, will they?
I mean, I think it's really interesting. I've seen posts on Instagram. I think Miss Anna Harriman posted a really powerful image of Sue Parfitt, the 83-year-old, and wrote above it very simply, "A terrorist today," or a terrorist supporter today. And I think what these protesters are trying to do, their argument is, and I've got some quotes from them here, from the piece in a statement. This is a statement on X from the Metropolitan Police, just describing what they did from their POV. Officers have arrested more than 20 people, 29 now, on suspicion of offences under the Terrorism Act. They have been taken into custody. Palestine Action is a prescribed group, and officers will act where criminal offences are committed.
I bet you anything, in a few weeks' time, we're going to have from the police that this is actually very difficult.
I don't know if we will.
Do you not think?
No.
Because what if loads and loads of people, I mean, we don't
know.
The
only one thing I would say is I think clearly the worries, counter-terrorism demands in the country must be running at quite a low level.
Oh, right.
I'd have thought, in order to be able to expend the number of police they had in Parliament Square. So I think we can read something quite positive out of this. If they can afford to send this many officers to Parliament Square to deal with placards,
feel quite good.
I think we should be able to feel quite safe,
because they're able to really focus on these suspected terrorist supporters.
In theory, so these are the organisers and supporters of the protesters. In theory, we are now terrorist supporters and can go to prison for 14 years, which is kind of crazy. I think what we are here to do is just expose the craziness of that, and I think that's why there's an 83-year-old retired priestess there to kind of demonstrate that. I think this is worse. This is interesting. This is worse than Putin's Russia. I don't say that lightly. Again, this is one of the organizers of the protest. It's 10 years for doing what we're doing today in Russia. It's 14 years in prison in the UK.
Good God.
Quote, this is all quotes, because of Yvette Cooper's outrageous betrayal of democracy, liberalism, and what is, in my view, a step towards fascism.
Right, so as you're reading that quote of somebody else, I'm sitting here thinking, are you allowed to read out that quote?
Yes, you know why?
Why?
Because the Guardian's published it, and I'll blame them.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of
so their lawyers
removed.
have looked at it.
Yeah, their lawyers. This has been lawyered. So, but it is interesting. Now, those who are protesting whether this should have happened at all, Palestine Action being prescribed, the bone of contention, and this has come from many legal experts in the United Nations, Amnesty International. I mean, I thought there was a time, was there not, when Amnesty International, if they said anything, we listened to it, didn't we?
Oh God, yeah, and the UN and the International Court of Justice.
Oh yeah, that was before was before Israel committed a genocide and rendered all international law meaningless and pointless.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yes,
yes,
it's
it was.
Since then.
Yeah,
it's since then.
Yeah,
so it's definitely since then, because before the genocide, the International Court of Justice was fairly respected. I mean, America has always done what it was.
Well, everyone agreed with it when they prescribed Putin as a war criminal.
Straight. Yeah. But we know that America's always moved all the things around very quickly. It's like, yeah. I think when they talk about International Court of Justice, they're thinking more towards brown and black people sticking to those sets of rules.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
Yes, I agree. And the point that Amnesty, the United Nations, and many other organizations are viewing, their concerns, their cause for concerns around this prescription is the idea and the argument that, or the fear that the government have mistaken protest for terrorism.
Well, that's the UN.
And that's the UN, that's Amnesty International. That's countless legal experts. I think over 100 humanitarian lawyers sent letters to sign a petition.
I didn't know it was as many as that.
Yeah, to Keir Starmer. It's not the first time Keir Starmer, a former humanitarian lawyer, has received a petition from other humanitarian lawyers telling him what he can't see.
Pointing out law to him.
Yes.
So that gives me a sort of idea that it might shift again.
I wouldn't hold your breath. I wouldn't hold your breath. No. Okay. So I just thought it was interesting to know that in Russia, it's interesting to know that in Russia to protest. I mean, and the mainstream media would have us think, the propaganda machine here would have us think that any form of protest is quashed in Russia. We know Putin is incredibly intolerant of anyone questioning him. But it's quite stark to hear that you get 10 years in a gulag in Russia, but you get 14 years here. Curious.
Well, you can do.
Well,
that's the top.
Yeah. I mean, I think the question mark here is this Spartacus moment going to ignite? And are more and more people going to do the same thing as they did today? Are more and more people going to peacefully protest, in effect? They notified the police they were going to be there. There was nothing surprising about this. That doesn't sound to me, though, like, I mean, there's terrorism. They arrived at
1:10 and they were being arrested by 1:30.
1:30, yeah. But they also notified them that they were going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show this. This is just one other clip. This was an Al Jazeera reporter talking over the top. So the subtitles are translating what she's saying into English. But in the background, you can see someone who I believe was a nurse who was protesting.
Oh, yeah. This was a viral video, went crazy. Do you remember just a few weeks ago when they wanted to do the march to Gaza from Egypt?
And
that's right, this video went completely viral with this Welsh nurse begging Egyptian soldiers to allow him into Gaza.
Well, you'll see in the background that nurse is one of the people being arrested.
Oh, sorry.
الاعتقال من قبل الشرطة البريطانية التي حذرتهم مسبقا بأنها ستقوم بإنفاذ القانون بحسب القانون مكافحة الإرهاب للعام 2000 لأنهم في اعتقادها يدعمون منظمة تم تصنيفها ضمن التنظيمات الإرهابية التي تدعم الإرهاب وهي منظمة تعمل في العمل المباشر. كما تشاهدون هذا الشخص تقتاده الشرطة البريطانية لأن لها ترخيصا بموجب هذا القانون، قانون مكافحة الإرهاب باعتقال هذه المجموعة.
Sorry, I was just getting just seeing his face. I was just getting goosebumps of the viral video. Did any of you see it? He was standing as close as this.
Don't know where we went there. Apologies.
Yeah, so he was just standing there. And so he was speaking this wonderful Welsh accent, let me in there, let me in to feed the babies and to look after the mothers. And there's this Arab, Palestinian guy translating in Arabic at such speed and like putting across to these soldiers, the pleading, begging. He had tears in his eyes. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps again. And of course, the Egyptian soldiers and police are just standing there. Oh, there is no doubt that they would have wanted to allow that, because just over the wall, they know that we desperate need for baby formula. Babies are starving to death. The healthcare system is completely destroyed. And these people, these humanitarians, were begging to let us in, let us in, let us in. So sorry, just seeing him there now being arrested, that's such a... that's so shocking.
There's a sort of dark irony. That he comes back to Parliament Square, the seat of a leading democracy in the West.
Yeah, because the soldiers were there with the guns. Yeah. He's brutish. The Egyptian president, but then he's here being arrested.
Can I just say something also about this term democracy, because we often have it rammed down our throats about Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East. I commented on this in the middle of Squid Games, because unfortunately what's going on in Gaza is a worse version of Squid Games. Just because the majority of people say something in a group, it doesn't ergo mean that the majority of those people are right. The word democracy is bandied around now like it's some kind of panacea for moral kind of, purity, and it's really kind of exploited and used in such devious ways. So we don't live in a democracy if you can't say what you want to say. I also just want to draw a couple of other historical parallels with the whole prescribing Palestine Action as a terrorist group when they're a direct action group. The most famous example of a direct action pressure group in British history is the suffragettes. And in that area of Parliament Square, where arguably they used more terrorist-like actions, i.e. potentially on paper, than Palestine Action have. But in Parliament Square, there are plaques, there are sculptures dedicated to the activist protesters and direct action, figures who led the suffragettes. So the reason I need to use that is sometimes I think people can sometimes get a bit bogged down in the detail and think, I don't administratively really understand it. But that's just to explain an example of a group in history that what is a direct action group?
They were treated brutally in prison, though, weren't they? Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's lots of comments going up there, but again, because we are not yet informed on what the lines are here, we're not really reading any out just in case we get anyone into trouble.
We don't want to recklessly promote Palestine Action.
Because we don't know the rules yet, so we are picking carefully around.
Because as it stands, and yes, you're right, you're absolutely right. Nelson Mandela the ANC was prescribed as a terrorist organisation.
How long was he 30 years he was in prison?
Yeah, a long time.
So extraordinary.
So I think with this story, obviously we'll be following the story. I think what's going to be interesting from a kind of non-contentious perspective with this story is, where is this going to lead to? Nadia was asking, what do you think is going to happen to the people who've been arrested? I genuinely don't know. I'm fascinated to see what the government does with them. Are they going to throw the book at them?
It is a very difficult position because they are now a terrorist organization. So if they have so completely, you know, because what was it? How many people voted against? 20 something.
26.
You know, this is a very, you know, there was just, they're very sure of this. So
bearing in mind they were voting for 3 organizations all at once.
However many times you say that to me, I can't actually understand that, because it's like saying I'm going to put these 3 people with completely different charges together, and you've got to vote.
It's like I'm not saying this is what happened, but it's like taking someone who's put their someone who's stolen some money from a till alongside 2 other people who've murdered people, and saying, well, we'll put all 3 of them together in one bill.
Burglar,
vandal, in with murderers.
So if they voted against it, they would have voted against it for the really.
What Jeremy
Corbyn system is not like
what Jeremy Corbyn was demanding was a specific debate on the specifics of Palestine action, and that wasn't given.
That's extraordinary.
It's extraordinary.
I mean, it's all happened very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's,
it was bolted on.
That's why. The thing that seems odd is like that if an appeal was denied, because it's like if they haven't got all the information yet, surely that's the very nature of an appeal, isn't it? So that you can, there hasn't been time to get all the information.
Absolutely.
We are not going to know there's no way.
So we don't know what's going to happen to the 29. We have to keep a really keen eye on what happens to the 29 who've been arrested.
But if they don't throw the book at them, then it's going to make the whole thing ridiculous, isn't it?
And that's why I think it's really intriguing, because if they throw the whole book at them and then we have an I Spartacus moment, suddenly the whole prison service policy of the Labour Party goes out the window.
Yeah, it will
potentially.
It will be a problem. But as I say, as we get more information on how and you know what the parameters are of these discussions, we probably will, you know, just keep it simple like this.
But put it this way, we're not reading some of your comments out to protect you.
So, just because we're not sure, because we can start reading it and then there could be something that you're not supposed to say. So we don't want to get anyone into trouble. And to
protect ourselves.
Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get in trouble.
Anyway, guys, keep talking amongst yourselves, obviously. Keep commenting underneath this once it's uploaded. And as I say, any breaking news that happens tomorrow, have your subscription and alerts on, your notification bell. The reason some of you won't have been notified tonight was we went live within a half hour. I have to have set the live over half an hour before. So
Joy, absolutely, with such a majority vote, they're going to I don't know
what.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that they're going to have to follow the absolute letter of the law with what happens next with these people that have been arrested.
Yeah. Well, yes.
I mean, I don't see what else can happen.
But look what you can do. I just thought I'd test that. Just take it off. No, I agree. As I understand it, the Just Stop Oil.
There's lots of people in
They're
prison.
still in prison.
Yeah. Well,
and they get 7 years.
What happens a lot though is you get very long remand when you're. I was reading in the Guardian today these very lengthy remand. Sentences. Is a remand a sentence?
Yeah, Diced Pineapple asks a question, and it's
be careful.
I'm going to be careful. So, what if everyone who goes to protest at the Palestine protests, holding signs saying "We are all Palestine action," are they going to arrest all 300 to 500?
Yes. Do not
legally
do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Do not wear a T-shirt. Do not wear a badge. Do not show support in any way. Really, really important.
Yeah.
Do not share anything on social media. I mean, I saw something today on a very big YouTube channel. Can't remember now what it was, and it said, "Don't share this documentary because it was put out before."
Yes.
Don't share this documentary because you could end up. That's the title, because you could end up getting 14 years in prison.
What they're saying.
That shuts down the conversation.
What they're saying is, don't share stuff that looks promotional or recklessly promotes something. You know.
But even if you shared something with somebody wearing a T-shirt,
depends on the context. I mean, all of the papers tonight are running the story. They have images of people with Palestine Actions placards, and above it they say descriptively, as we have, Protesters holding Palestine action signs are arrested by the Met Police.
So that's what we've very much stuck to here. It's like what's been said in the Guard. We've kind of followed that because we know that will have been lawyered. But yeah, hopefully things will be made clearer to people over the next few days.
I would recommend, if you want to post about these things at all, stay descriptive. Stay descriptive, not interpretive. Don't interpret. Don't nudge it your way politically. Just describe what you see. As we showed you just the footage of 83-year-old, I've lost her name again, but the 83-year-old priest.
Have you guys watched the 3-part Guardian YouTube video, the Green Line, etc.? No, we'll have a look. Thank you for that.
Anyway, okay, well, all right, guys.
All right, everybody.
Well, look, take care, sleep tight.
We will see you tomorrow for Coffee Moaning.
Monday.
Oh yeah,
Monday.
I thought it was Sunday night.
The only set of circumstances in which we might go live tomorrow is if there's a major breaking news story. But also, you may well get mine and Maddie's Squid Games review tomorrow because we really want to do it. All right, guys.
All right.
Sleep tight.
Take care.
Thanks for all of your comments that we didn't read out.